You are not responsible for how people behave. You are only responsible for how you respond. And in that simple truth lies your freedom. Most people live as emotional hostages, reacting to every word, every action, every slight, as if their peace depends on controlling the world around them. But you've already begun to see through that illusion. You know now that calm isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of inner authority. It's the quiet certainty that no matter what happens outside, you will not be shaken. That doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you accept disrespect or injustice. It means you refuse to let those things control your energy, your focus, your state of mind. Because once you give someone the power to ruin your day, you've already lost. And you're not here to lose. You're here to rise, to grow, to become the kind of person who doesn't need conditions to be at peace, who carries peace with them like a flame in the wind. That flame doesn't flicker when someone tries to blow it out. It burns steady, fed by something deeper than approval, validation, or fairness. It's fed by self-trust, by the unshakable knowing that you are whole, capable, and in control of your inner world. This isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming wise, emotionally intelligent, strong in a way that doesn't need to prove itself. Think about the last time someone tried to provoke you. Maybe they criticized your work. Maybe they ignored your presence. Maybe they spoke with contempt. In that moment, your mind had a choice: react from fear or respond from strength. Most people choose fear. They defend, they attack, they try to win the moment. But you're learning to do something far more powerful. You pause, you breathe, you ask, what part of me is being triggered? And in that pause, you reclaim your power. You stop feeding the fire. You stop giving energy to chaos. You become still. And in that stillness, clarity returns. You see the situation for what it is, not a personal attack, but someone else's unresolved pain spilling into your space. And you realize you don't have to clean up their mess. You don't have to fix their ignorance. You don't have to teach them a lesson. All you have to do is protect your peace. That's your only job. And when you do it consistently, something extraordinary happens. People stop trying to provoke you, not because they've changed, but because they get no reaction, no drama, no emotional reward. So they move on. And you stay centered, grounded, free. This is how you win, not by fighting, but by refusing to play the game. You stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to be right. You stop needing to defend your worth. Because your worth isn't up for debate. It's already settled, and the more you live from that truth, the lighter you feel. The sharper your focus becomes. The more energy you have for what truly matters, your growth, your purpose, your life. Anger is a tax on your potential. Every second you spend resenting someone, you're stealing time and energy from your future. But when you release it, you unlock that energy. You redirect it. You use it to build, to create, to become. That's the secret no one talks about. Peace isn't passive. It's power in motion. It's the foundation of every great achievement, every deep relationship, every lasting success. You cannot build anything of value on a foundation of anger. But on a foundation of calm, you can build a life that no opinion can destroy. This is the work. Not to avoid difficult people, not to wait for the perfect environment, but to become so internally strong that nothing can knock you off course. To develop a mind so disciplined, so clear, that provocation simply passes through, like wind through a tree. The tree doesn't fight the wind. It bends, it holds, it remains. And when the storm passes, it stands taller than before. That's you. That's your potential. And every time you choose peace over reaction, you grow stronger. Not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, physically. Your body stops living in survival mode. Your mind stops racing. Your heart stops carrying the weight of old battles. You begin to live from a place of presence, of power, of peace. And from that place, nothing can truly harm you. Because you are no longer defined by what happens to you. You are defined by how you rise through it. You've spent years believing that peace comes from getting respect, from being treated fairly, from having people see your worth. But here's the truth that changes everything. Peace doesn't come from the outside. It flows from within the moment you stop needing the world to validate you. Every time you wait for an apology, for recognition, for someone to finally get you, you surrender your power. You place your emotional freedom in the hands of people who may never change. and that is a prison built on hope, not strength. But you were never meant to live that way. You were meant to stand tall, not because others agree with you, but because you know who you are. Certainty, unshakable, quiet, deep, is what makes the difference between a life ruled by reactions and a life led by purpose. You don't need permission to be calm. You don't need agreement to be centered. You don't need anyone's approval to carry yourself with dignity. The moment you realize this, a door opens. Not a door in the world, but a door within. And through it walks the version of you that no insult can break, no betrayal can bend, no disrespect can shake. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness. It's the understanding that your value was never up for debate. It was assigned the moment you existed. And no behavior, no words, no actions from anyone else can erase that. So when someone tries to diminish you, they're not speaking truth. They're revealing their own limitations, their ignorance, their pain. And you don't have to meet that with anger. You don't have to meet it at all. You can simply step aside, breathe, and remain exactly who you are. That is the highest form of power. Not retaliation, not winning an argument, not proving a point, but remaining undisturbed, because disturbance is the price of attachment. Attachment to how things should be, to how people should act, to how you should be seen. And the more you let go of that attachment, the lighter you become, the freer you move, the stronger you stand. Think of your mind as a sky. Clouds pass through, dark, loud, stormy. But the sky doesn't fight them, it doesn't cling to them, it simply holds space, vast and untouched. That is your nature. You are not the storm. You are the space that holds it. And when you remember that, nothing can truly harm you. Not criticism, not betrayal, not silence, not spite. You see it, feel it, and let it pass, because you know it's temporary and you are permanent. This is not suppression. This is clarity. This is evolution. Every time you choose not to react, you rewire your nervous system. You teach your body that it doesn't need to go into survival mode, that you are safe, even when someone is being unfair, even when someone is wrong, even when someone is cruel. You are safe because you are in control of your response, and that control is your birthright. Most people live in a constant state of emotional reactivity because they've never been taught this truth. You are not your feelings, you are the awareness behind them. Anger arises, it speaks. But you don't have to obey it. You can observe it, thank it for the message, and then return to your center. That pause, that sacred space between stimulus and response, is where freedom lives. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. One day, you'll notice something incredible. Things that used to make you furious no longer affect you. Not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've healed your wounds. Because you've filled your own cup so completely that no one can take from it. You no longer need to defend, because there's nothing left to defend. You are whole, you are full, you are free. And that freedom radiates, not as coldness, but as quiet strength. People will feel it. They'll sense your stability. They'll be drawn to your calm. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you become someone who can't be shaken. That is the ultimate form of influence. Not loud, not forceful, but deep, unavoidable, real. And it starts with one decision: to stop giving your power away, to stop letting small moments steal your peace, to stop measuring your worth by how others treat you. From this moment forward, you protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Every breath you waste on anger is a breath stolen from your future. Every thought you give to resentment is a thought stolen from your growth. But when you reclaim that energy, when you redirect it into clarity, focus, and purpose, you begin to build a life that no opinion can destroy. A life not of reaction, but of intention, not of chaos, but of calm, not of noise, but of truth. And in that truth, you find the only peace that lasts, the kind that comes not from changing the world, but from mastering yourself. You are not here to prove yourself. You are here to live yourself. And that simple shift, when it truly lands, changes everything. For years, you may have walked through life, trying to show people your worth, defending your value, reacting to slights, chasing validation like it was oxygen. But in that chase, you lost something far more precious: your presence, your peace, your power. Because every time you react to someone's ignorance, every time you let a disrespectful comment pull you out of alignment, you are telling yourself, deep down, that your worth is negotiable, that it depends on how others see you, and that belief is the root of all emotional disturbance. But what if you stop negotiating? What if you declared once and for all that your value is non-negotiable, that it was never theirs to give or take, that it exists, fully, completely, unconditionally, regardless of who sees it, who denies it, who misunderstands you? That declaration isn't pride, it's truth, and truth is the foundation of unshakable calm. When you know who you are, you don't need to defend. You don't need to attack. You don't need to win. You simply move forward, quietly, steadily, with a strength that doesn't shout because it doesn't need to. Most people confuse silence with weakness, but silence, when chosen, is the loudest form of power. It's the refusal to be dragged into drama. It's the decision to preserve your energy for what matters. It's the calm in the eye of the storm, unmoved by the wind around it. And that calm isn't passive, it's fiercely intelligent. It knows that every reaction feeds the fire. Every argument steals time. Every outburst diminishes presence. So you stop giving energy to what doesn't serve you. You stop engaging with chaos just to prove a point. You stop trying to reason with people who aren't ready to see, because you've realized something profound. Peace is not found in changing others. It's found in mastering yourself. And mastery begins with one question. What do I gain by reacting? Think about it. When you snap back at someone, when you hold on to resentment, when you replay an insult in your mind for hours, what do you actually get? Do you gain respect? Do you gain peace? Do you gain control? No. You gain tension. You gain stress. You gain distraction. You lose sleep. You lose focus. You lose moments of your life that you'll never get back. And for what? For a fleeting sense of being heard? For a momentary illusion of winning? It's not worth it. Nothing is worth your peace. Nothing is worth your energy. Nothing is worth your presence. So you begin to practice something radical, non-engagement, not avoidance, not suppression, but conscious choice. You see the provocation, you feel the impulse, but you don't act on it. You breathe, you center, you return to your truth. I am not here to fight for my worth, I am here to live it. That's the mantra, that's the anchor. And the more you repeat it, not with force, but with quiet certainty, the more your nervous system believes it. Your body learns, I am safe, I am enough, I don't need to defend. And slowly, the reactions fade. The triggers lose their power. The noise becomes background. You become the observer, not the victim. The master, not the slave. And in that mastery, you discover a freedom most never experience. The freedom to be unaffected. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much about your inner world to let anything cheap or small disrupt it. You protect your mind like a temple. You guard your energy like a treasure. And you move through life with a quiet dignity that no disrespect can shake. This is not detachment. This is devotion to yourself, to your purpose, to your peace. And when you live from that place, something shifts in the world around you. People notice, not because you demand attention, but because your presence speaks. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to win. You simply are. And in that being, you radiate a strength that no anger could ever create. That's the goal. Not to never feel irritation, but to never be ruled by it, to feel it, acknowledge it, and return, again and again, to your center. Because your center is where power lives, not in reactions, not in drama, not in noise, but in stillness, in clarity, in truth. And from that truth, you build a life that no opinion, no insult, no betrayal can destroy. That life is already yours. You only need to claim it. You are not responsible for fixing how people see you. You are only responsible for knowing who you are, and that knowing, deep, unshakable, silent, is the foundation of true emotional freedom. Most people spend their lives trying to control perception. They twist themselves, change their tone, adjust their behavior, all in the desperate hope that someone will finally see them clearly, fairly, kindly. But here's the truth that sets you free. You cannot manage how others interpret you, and you were never meant to. The moment you stop trying, the weight lifts. The tension fades. The need to explain, defend, or prove yourself dissolves. Because you've stopped outsourcing your worth. You've stopped letting opinion define reality. And in that space, something powerful emerges, authentic presence. Not the version of you crafted for approval, but the real you, unedited, unapologetic, whole. That version doesn't react to disrespect. It doesn't flinch at ignorance. It doesn't crumble under criticism. It simply stands, quiet, grounded, aware, and from that stance, nothing can truly harm you. Not because you're indifferent, but because you're anchored. anchored in the truth that your value doesn't rise or fall with someone's mood, misunderstanding, or malice. It simply is. And when you live from that truth, your energy changes. You stop wasting time replaying conversations in your head. You stop analyzing tone, intent, or motive. You stop giving mental real estate to people who don't matter. Instead, you redirect that energy into your breath, your purpose, your next step forward. That's where power lives, in the present moment, in your next choice, in your ability to remain centered no matter what unfolds around you. This isn't about ignoring injustice or tolerating abuse. It's about refusing to let those things hijack your inner state. You can set boundaries without anger. You can walk away without resentment. You can speak your truth without needing the other person to agree. That's maturity, that's mastery, that's freedom. And it starts with one radical decision: to stop measuring your worth by how others treat you. Because when you do, you hand them the keys to your peace. You make your calm conditional. And nothing good ever comes from conditional peace. It's fragile. It breaks under pressure. But unconditional peace, peace that doesn't depend on fairness, kindness, or recognition, that's unbreakable. That's what you're building. Not overnight. Not without effort. But with every breath you take instead of a reaction. With every moment you choose stillness over chaos. With every time you return to your center instead of chasing validation. You're retraining your nervous system, rewiring your responses, reclaiming your power. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. One day, you'll notice that someone who once had the power to ruin your day now barely registers. Not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've healed your wounds. Because you've filled your own cup so completely that no one can take from it. You no longer need to defend because there's nothing left to defend. You are whole, you are full, you are free. And that freedom isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It simply radiates, a quiet strength that others feel without you saying a word. People will sense your stability. They'll be drawn to your calm. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've become someone who can't be shaken. That is the highest form of influence. Not through force, not through argument, but through presence, through consistency, through the unshakable knowing that you are enough, exactly as you are. This is not suppression. This is evolution. Every time you feel the pull of anger and choose not to follow it, you grow stronger, not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, physically. Your body stops living in survival mode. Your mind stops racing. Your heart stops carrying the weight of old battles. You begin to live from a place of clarity, not reaction, of power, not fear, of peace, not struggle. And from that place, you become capable of things you once thought impossible. You speak with confidence because you no longer need approval. You act with courage because you no longer fear judgment. You move through life with a quiet dignity that no insult can break. That's who you are becoming. And the world needs that version of you. Clear, calm, centered, strong. Not because you're perfect, but because you've learned the most important lesson of all. Peace is not found in changing the world. It's found in mastering yourself. And when you master yourself, you become free, not from conflict, not from difficulty, but from the need to be disturbed by it. That's the goal, and you're closer than you think. You are not here to win arguments. You are here to win your life. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. Because every time you engage in a battle of words, every time you try to make someone see your side, every time you pour energy into proving a point, you are trading pieces of your peace for something that doesn't last. Validation fades. Being right doesn't heal wounds. Winning an argument doesn't bring lasting satisfaction. But peace does. Clarity does. Presence does. And those are the only things worth fighting for, because they are the foundation of a life lived with power, purpose, and integrity. Most people don't understand this. They think strength is in the loudest voice, the sharpest comeback, the ability to dominate a conversation. But real strength is silence. It's the ability to hear an insult and not flinch, to face disrespect and remain centered, to be misunderstood and still walk forward with quiet confidence. That kind of strength doesn't come from ego. It comes from inner wholeness, from knowing, deep in your bones, that you don't need anyone's agreement to feel complete. And when you live from that place, you stop needing to control outcomes. You stop needing to change minds. You stop needing to be seen the way you want to be seen, because you've already seen yourself, clearly, honestly, fully. And that vision is unshakable. It doesn't waver with criticism. It doesn't collapse under judgment. It stands, solid, quiet, alive. That's the core you protect now. Not your image, not your reputation, not how people perceive you, but your inner state, your energy, your peace. Because that's the only thing you truly own. Everything else, opinions, reactions, circumstances, is temporary. But your calm, that's yours to keep, and the more you guard it, the stronger you become. You begin to notice something subtle but powerful. The less you react, the more influence you have. Not because you're trying to control anyone, but because your presence speaks. People feel your stability, they sense your clarity. They are drawn to the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. That's not manipulation, that's magnetism, and it comes not from effort, but from alignment. When your actions match your truth, when your energy is clean and focused, you radiate a power no anger could ever create. This isn't about becoming passive. It's about becoming strategic. Every ounce of energy you spend on resentment, frustration, or defense is energy stolen from your growth. But when you stop feeding the noise, you reclaim that energy. You redirect it. You use it to build, to create, to move forward. And that's where real transformation happens. Not in dramatic confrontations, but in quiet consistency. In the choice, again and again, to stay centered, to breathe instead of bite back, to walk away instead of escalate, to remain calm when everything in you wants to react. That's the training, that's the discipline, that's the path to unshakable composure. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. One day you'll realize that the things that once triggered you no longer do. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've healed the wound beneath the reaction. You've filled the emptiness that once needed validation. You become so full in your own being that no outside opinion can create a void. And in that fullness, you find freedom. Not freedom from conflict, but freedom from being ruled by it. You no longer need to win every battle because you've already won the war within. You are no longer at the mercy of tone, intent, or disrespect. You are the master of your response. And that mastery is everything. It means you can walk into chaos and remain calm. You can hear cruelty and feel nothing but compassion for them and for the version of you that once took it personally. That compassion isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the understanding that pain creates pain, that insecurity creates aggression, that fear creates control. And none of it is about you. It never was. So you stop carrying the weight of other people's struggles. You set it down. You keep walking. And with every step you grow stronger, clearer, freer. This is not the end of emotion. This is the beginning of mastery. You feel everything. Anger, hurt, frustration, but you no longer obey it. You observe it, learn from it, release it. And in that release, you find the only peace that lasts, the kind that comes not from changing the world, but from mastering yourself. That peace is your birthright, and it's waiting for you right now, in the next breath you take. Just breathe, just stay, just be, and let everything else fall away. You are not weak because you feel anger. You are human. And the moment you stop judging yourself for that feeling is the moment real transformation begins. Most people fight their anger like it's the enemy. They suppress it, deny it, or let it explode, believing these are their only options. But there's a third path, one that doesn't destroy you or others, one that turns anger into insight, pain into power, reaction into wisdom. It starts with a single courageous act, allowing, not acting out, not bottling up, but allowing the emotion to exist, without judgment, without fear, without needing to fix it. When you do this, something shifts. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop seeing your emotions as flaws. You begin to see them as signals, messengers from the deeper parts of you that still need attention, healing, understanding. Anger doesn't appear out of nowhere. It rises when a boundary is crossed, when a need is ignored, when a wound from the past is touched. And instead of reacting to the surface, you learn to go deeper. You ask, not why am I so upset, but what part of me feels unsafe right now? That question changes everything, because it moves you from defense to discovery, from victim to investigator, from chaos to clarity. And in that clarity you find the root, not in the other person's words, but in your own unmet needs, your old fears, your buried pain. That's where healing happens, not in blaming, not in escaping, but in facing. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort, numbing it with distractions, substances, or drama. But you're different. You're ready to stop running. You're ready to stand still, to feel what's there, to say, I see you, I hear you, I'm not afraid of you. And when you do, the power of anger dissolves. Not because you've destroyed it, but because you've understood it. You've given it space. And in that space, it transforms. It no longer controls you. It serves you. It tells you where you've compromised yourself, where you've stayed silent too long, where you've ignored your truth. And with that awareness, you make better choices, not in the heat of the moment, but from a place of calm, clear intention. This is not suppression. This is integration. You're not pushing anger down. You're lifting it up into the light of awareness. And in that light, it loses its grip. It becomes energy, fuel, motivation to set boundaries, to speak your truth, to protect your peace. But now, you do it from strength, not reaction. You don't lash out. You don't withdraw. You don't punish. You simply act, clearly, calmly, with purpose. That's the difference between being emotional and being emotionally intelligent. One keeps you trapped, the other sets you free. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You start catching anger earlier, before it explodes. You notice the tightness in your chest, the heat behind your eyes, the rush of thoughts. And instead of following them, you pause. You breathe. You return to your center. And in that pause, you reclaim your power. You choose, not your default pattern, not your childhood conditioning, but your highest self. The one who knows peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of control. Not control over others, but over your own mind, your own response, your own energy. That's real power. And it grows with every choice you make to stay calm, to stay aware, to stay true. You begin to see people differently, not as threats, but as triggers, not as enemies, but as mirrors showing you where you still carry pain. And instead of blaming them, you thank them, silently, because they helped you see what needed healing. That's not naive, that's mastery. It's the ability to extract wisdom from every experience, no matter how painful. And when you live this way, your relationships change, not because others become kinder, but because you become stronger. You stop needing them to behave a certain way. You stop tying your peace to their actions. You protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Every moment spent in anger is a moment stolen from your growth, your joy, your purpose. But when you reclaim that energy, when you redirect it into clarity and action, you begin to build a life that no opinion can destroy. A life not of reaction, but of intention. Not of noise, but of truth. And in that truth you find something rare, unshakable inner freedom, the kind that doesn't depend on fairness, kindness, or justice. The kind that stands firm in the middle of chaos and says, I am still whole. That's who you are becoming. Not someone who never feels anger, but someone who no longer fears it, someone who uses it, transforms it, rises through it. And in that rising, you become untouchable. Not because you're cold, but because you're whole. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And in your realness, you find the only peace worth having, the kind that comes not from changing the world, but from mastering yourself. That peace is yours. It always has been. You only need to claim it. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time. You are not required to respond to every provocation. You are not obligated to defend your worth, correct someone's misunderstanding, or justify your presence. That realization, when it truly sinks in, unlocks a level of freedom most never experience. Because for years, you may have believed that silence was surrender, that calm was weakness, that walking away was defeat. But the truth is the opposite. Silence can be the loudest statement of strength, calm can be the deepest form of power, and walking away can be the most courageous act of self-respect. Every time you choose not to engage, you are not running, you are protecting. You are preserving your energy for what truly matters, your growth, your peace, your purpose. Most people don't understand this. They believe every slight must be answered, every insult met with fire, every disrespect challenged. But that mindset keeps them trapped in endless cycles of conflict, draining their focus, their joy, their clarity. And for what? A fleeting sense of winning? A momentary illusion of control? It's not worth it. Nothing is worth your inner peace. Nothing is worth your presence. Nothing is worth the quiet dignity you carry when you refuse to be pulled into chaos. You've learned something rare. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every voice needs a response. And that awareness is power, real power. The kind that doesn't shout, doesn't posture, doesn't need to be seen, it simply is. And from that stillness, you act, only when necessary, only with intention, only from a place of clarity, not reaction, not fear, not ego. This isn't passivity, it's precision. It's the ability to discern what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And the more you practice this, the sharper your focus becomes. You stop wasting time on noise. You stop giving mental space to people who don't matter. You stop replaying conversations that serve nothing but your own suffering. Instead, you return, again and again, to your center, to your breath, to your truth. I am not here to prove myself, I am here to live myself. That's your anchor. That's your compass. And when you hold it, nothing can truly shake you. Not criticism, not betrayal, not silence, not spite. You see it, feel it, and let it pass, because you know it's temporary, and you are permanent. This is not detachment, it's devotion to your highest self, to your inner stability, to the life you're building. And when you live from that place, your presence changes. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to win arguments to feel valid. You simply move forward, quietly, steadily, with a strength that doesn't need approval to exist. People will notice, not because you demand it, but because your energy speaks. They'll feel your calm in the middle of drama. They'll sense your clarity in the face of confusion. They'll be drawn to the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. That's influence, not forced, not performed, but earned, through consistency, through presence, through the daily choice to remain unbothered. And the more you do this, the more your nervous system recalibrates. Your body learns, I am safe. I don't need to fight. I don't need to win. I am enough. Over time, the old triggers lose their power. The words that once cut deep now barely register. Not because you've hardened your heart, but because you've healed your wounds. Because you've filled your own cup so completely that no one can take from it. You no longer need to defend, because there's nothing left to defend. You are whole, you are full, you are free. And that freedom isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It simply radiates, a quiet strength that no insult can break. That's who you are becoming. Not someone who never feels anger, but someone who no longer fears it. Someone who sees it, understands it, and lets it pass, like clouds across the sky. No struggle, no resistance, just awareness, just release. And in that release you find the only peace worth having, the kind that doesn't depend on fairness, kindness, or justice. The kind that stands firm in the storm and says, I am still here, I am still whole. That peace is not given, it's claimed. Not in grand moments, but in small daily choices. In the breath you take instead of the word you throw, in the step you take forward instead of the battle you stay in the silence you choose over the noise. That's mastery, that's growth, that's freedom, and it's available to you right now, not tomorrow, not when things get easier. Now, because peace isn't a destination, it's a decision, and you've already made it, you just needed to hear it. So hear it now. You are not required to respond. You are not obligated to react. You are not responsible for fixing how others see you. You are only responsible for knowing who you are, and from that knowing, everything else follows. You are not defined by how people treat you. You are defined by how you treat yourself in the face of their behavior. That single truth holds the key to unbreakable calm. Most people live as if their worth is determined by the tone of a voice, the content of a message, the presence or absence of respect. They rise and fall with the opinions of others, mistaking external reactions for internal truth. But you've begun to see through that illusion. You know now that peace isn't something you earn through approval. It's something you claim through self-respect. And self-respect doesn't waver when someone is rude, dismissive, or unfair. It deepens, it strengthens, it becomes your anchor in every storm. Because when you treat yourself with dignity, regardless of how others act, you send a powerful message to your nervous system. I am safe. I am in control. I am not for sale. That's the foundation of emotional immunity, not indifference, not coldness, but deep, unwavering care for your own well-being. Every time someone tries to provoke you, you don't respond with anger. You respond with self-kindness. You pause. You breathe. You place a hand on your chest and remind yourself, I will not let this moment steal my peace. I will not let this person live in my mind rent-free. I am worth more than this reaction. That internal dialogue isn't weakness, it's leadership. It's you stepping into the role of your own protector, your own guide, your own highest authority. And that shift, when you stop outsourcing your self-worth and start embodying it, changes everything. You no longer need to win arguments to feel valid. You no longer need to be understood to feel whole. You simply return to the truth. I exist. I matter. I am enough. And from that truth, nothing can knock you off balance. Not betrayal, not disrespect, not silence, not spite. You see it for what it is, someone else's pain, confusion, or limitation, and you refuse to make it yours. That doesn't mean you tolerate harm. It means you respond from clarity, not reaction. You set boundaries without rage. You walk away without resentment. You speak your truth without needing agreement. That's power, quiet, steady, unshakable. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. One day, you'll notice that the things that once triggered you no longer do, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You've healed the wound beneath the reaction. You've filled the emptiness that once craved validation. You've become so grounded in your own worth that no outside behavior can create a void. And in that fullness, you find freedom, not freedom from difficulty, but freedom from being ruled by it. You no longer need to defend because there's nothing left to defend. You are whole, you are full, you are free. And that freedom radiates, not as coldness, but as quiet strength. People feel it. They sense your stability. They are drawn to the calm of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. That's not manipulation. That's magnetism. And it comes not from effort, but from alignment. When your actions match your truth, when your energy is clean and focused, you become a force that no chaos can break. This isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. About honoring your emotions without being enslaved by them. About feeling anger, hurt, frustration, and choosing not to act from them. That's mastery, not suppression, not denial, but conscious choice. Every time you feel the pull to react and choose stillness instead, you rewire your brain. You teach your body that peace is the default, that you don't need to fight to feel safe, that you are enough, exactly as you are. And the more you do this, the more your life transforms. You stop wasting energy on what you can't control. You stop giving power to noise. You stop letting small moments steal your focus. Instead, you invest in what matters, your breath, your purpose, your next step forward. That's where greatness lives. Not in dramatic confrontations, not in loud declarations, but in quiet consistency, in the daily decision to treat yourself with the same care you'd give to someone you deeply love. Because you are that person. You are worthy of that care. Not when you succeed, not when you're respected, not when you're treated fairly, but now, always, unconditionally. And when you live from that truth, your presence changes. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your worth. You don't need to win. You simply are. And in that being, you radiate a strength no anger could ever create. That's the goal, not to never feel disturbance, but to never be ruled by it, to feel it, honor it, and return, again and again, to your center. Because your center is where power lives, not in reaction, not in drama, not in noise, but in stillness, in clarity, in truth. And from that truth you build a life that no opinion, no insult, no betrayal can destroy. That life is already yours. You only need to claim it. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be free. And the moment you release the need for approval, you step into a new dimension of power. One where peace isn't fragile, conditional, or dependent on how others see you. Most people spend their lives bending, twisting, adjusting, trying to fit into molds they were never meant to wear, all in the name of being accepted, appreciated, respected. But that pursuit is a trap, because the more you chase approval, the more you lose yourself. You silence your truth. You suppress your needs. You betray your instincts, all to avoid discomfort, rejection, or conflict. And in that silence, your energy leaks away. Your confidence erodes. Your peace becomes a hostage to opinion. But you were never meant to live that way. You were meant to stand in your truth, quietly, firmly, without apology, not to provoke, not to rebel, but to honor the deepest part of you that knows what's real, what's right, what's yours. That part doesn't need permission. It doesn't need validation. It simply knows. And when you start listening to it, something shifts. You stop reacting to disrespect because you've already decided, deep in your core, that your worth is non-negotiable. No tone, no comment, no action from anyone else can change that. And when you live from that certainty, you become immune to manipulation, guilt, and emotional pressure. You stop needing people to agree with you. You stop needing them to understand you. You stop needing them to see your value, because you already do. And that inner alignment is everything. It's the foundation of unshakable calm. It's what allows you to walk into chaos and remain centered, to hear cruelty and feel nothing but clarity, to be ignored and still move forward with quiet confidence. This isn't arrogance, it's integrity. It's the courage to be yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when it costs you something. Because the cost of not being yourself is far greater. It's years of resentment, it's a life half lived. It's waking up one day and realizing you spent decades trying to please people who never mattered. But you're not that person anymore. You're becoming someone who protects their energy like it's sacred, because it is. Every time you choose not to react, every time you walk away from drama, every time you stay silent when your ego wants to speak, you are reclaiming that energy. You are investing it in your growth, your peace, your purpose. And that's where real power grows. Not in loud confrontations, not in winning arguments, but in quiet consistency. In the daily choice to remain aligned, to stay true, to keep moving forward without needing applause. Most people don't understand this. They think influence comes from force, from dominance, from being seen. But real influence comes from presence, from the quiet strength of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. People feel it. They're drawn to it. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because your energy is clean, clear, and unshaken. That's the result of inner work, of healing the parts of you that once craved validation, of filling the emptiness that used to need external approval. And now, you're full. So full that no opinion can create a void, so full that you don't need to defend, attack, or explain. You simply are. And in that being, you radiate a power no anger could ever create. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming wise, emotionally intelligent, strong in a way that doesn't need to prove itself. You set boundaries without rage. You speak your truth without needing agreement. You walk away without resentment. That's mastery, not suppression, not denial, but conscious choice. Every time you feel the pull to react and choose stillness instead, you rewire your nervous system. You teach your body that peace is the default, that you don't need to fight to feel safe, that you are enough, exactly as you are. And the more you do this, the more your life transforms. You stop wasting energy on noise. You stop giving mental space to people who don't matter. You stop replaying conversations that serve nothing but your own suffering. Instead, you return, again and again, to your center, to your breath, to your truth. And from that truth, you build a life that no insult, no betrayal, no injustice can destroy. That life is already yours. You only need to claim it. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be free. And freedom begins the moment you stop needing approval to feel whole. You are not required to carry the weight of other people's emotions. That burden was never yours to hold. Yet for years, you may have done it unconsciously, absorbing their anger, their disappointment, their frustration, as if it were your responsibility to fix, soothe, or respond to it. But here's the truth that sets you free. You are not here to manage how others feel. You are only responsible for how you carry yourself in their presence. And when you stop internalizing their emotional storms, when you stop taking their bad moods personally, when you stop believing it's your job to make everyone happy, you reclaim a power you didn't even know you'd lost. Most people live in a constant state of emotional entanglement. They feel obligated to respond to every outburst, every passive-aggressive comment, every silent treatment. They believe that if someone is upset, they must have caused it, and therefore, they must fix it. But that mindset is a prison. It makes you small. It makes you reactive. It makes you responsible for things that were never yours to control. And the cost? Your peace, your clarity, your energy. But you're different now. You're learning to see emotions for what they really are. Not commands, not truths, not personal attacks, but reflections of someone else's inner world. Their pain, their insecurity, their unmet needs. And none of it requires your participation. You can witness it, you can acknowledge it, but you don't have to absorb it. You don't have to defend against it. You don't have to fix it. You simply hold your ground, stay centered, breathe, and remember, Their emotion is not your emergency. That single sentence, when truly believed, can change your life because it frees you from the invisible chains of guilt, obligation, and fear. It allows you to walk into difficult conversations without dread, to hear harsh words without flinching, to be around intense people without losing yourself. That's not coldness, that's clarity, that's emotional sovereignty. And it grows stronger every time you choose not to react. Every time you let someone else's storm rage around you while you remain still inside. That stillness is not indifference. It's mastery. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows their peace is not up for negotiation. You don't need to prove you care. You don't need to show you're trying. You don't need to earn their approval. You simply exist in your truth, and that is enough. And the more you practice this, the more your nervous system recalibrates. Your body learns, I am not responsible for their mood. I am responsible for my response. And in that awareness, you become untouchable. Not because you're hard, but because you're whole. You filled your own cup so completely that you no longer need to seek validation, fix pain, or earn love. You give from overflow, not obligation. You help when it aligns with your truth, not because you fear guilt or rejection. That's real compassion. Not forced, not desperate, but free. And when you live this way, your relationships transform. Not because others change, but because you do. You stop attracting chaos. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop staying in situations that drain you. Not with drama, not with confrontation. With quiet, consistent boundaries. You say no without apology. You walk away without explanation. You protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because it is. And people begin to treat you differently. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy commands it. They feel your stability. They sense your clarity. They know you can't be manipulated, guilt-tripped, or controlled. And that changes everything. You no longer need to prove your worth. You no longer need to win arguments. You no longer need to be understood. You simply move forward, calm, clear, and completely unbothered. That's the goal. Not to avoid difficult people, not to live in isolation, but to become so internally strong that nothing and no one can pull you out of alignment. To develop a mind so disciplined, so grounded, that provocation simply passes through, like wind through trees. The tree doesn't fight the wind. It bends, it holds, it remains, and when the storm passes, it stands taller than before. That's you. That's your potential. And every time you choose peace over reaction, you grow stronger. Not just emotionally, but mentally, spiritually, physically. Your body stops living in survival mode. Your mind stops racing. Your heart stops carrying the weight of old battles. You begin to live from a place of presence, of power, of peace. And from that place, nothing can truly harm you, because you are no longer defined by what happens to you. You are defined by how you rise through it. You are not here to fix the world. You are here to master yourself. And in that mastery, you find the only freedom worth having, the kind that doesn't depend on fairness, kindness, or justice, the kind that stands firm in the middle of chaos and says, I am still whole. That peace is yours. You only need to claim it. One breath, one choice, one moment at a time.